What is going on, guys? It's Danny from Slow Restoration. We're in the garage today again, working on project LSXTREME. We got our motor and trans all bolted together last night, and today we are working on the front suspension here. We already have our brake lines kind of plugged in there with the clips. Same thing with the back. Our upper control arms are Southside Machine Performance. They come with this new hardware. So we took our old stuff out. You do have to open these holes up ever so slightly. A half-inch drill bit works pretty good, and they'll slide in there. The original bolts had that knurl on them to keep them from spinning. With these, the upper control arm is actually open, so you can actually get a wrench or socket right in there and grab that. So these are a lot nicer, so we're definitely going to use these. Let's keep going on the front end here and see how far. Hopefully we can make this a roller by the end of today. All right, guys, we got our upper A-arms installed on there. Obviously we're going to need some shims. We have no idea what we're going to need yet, so a good starting point is just to put what was there back, and then when you have it aligned, they can adjust from there. It's probably not going to be that because obviously these are aftermarket. We have new lower arms. Everything's new, so probably going to change. And I kind of planned on maybe not putting any in, but this arm actually hits the painted surface here. We don't want to scratch it all up for now, so if we put what we took out, spaces that away nice, and it's a good starting point for them to go off of. Upper A-arms are all tightened up. Lower ones are hanging there loose, so we can pivot them. And next step is kind of scary, actually. We need to get this coil spring into this pocket. And the only real way of doing that, you can do it if you have weight on the vehicle, but since our brake line still hasn't showed up and we don't have the motor installed, we have absolutely no weight on the front of this. So there's no way we're going to use weight to do it. The only other way to do it is a coil spring compressor that goes up the center of the spring down through that hole, and they can be very scary to use. I'm not sure how many people have used those. They're kind of hairy. Sometimes they will, I'll show you when I get that mocked up on there, but the little fingers go on either side of the spring and the bolt goes right down the center. Sometimes they will lose grip and spiral their way down, and the spring kind of just, I won't say it flies out, but it loses tension fast. So we're going to try and do that without A, getting hurt, and B, scratching everything up. So let's give this a shot. Here's kind of the idea of how it works. As you can see, this center part here is compressed. It's under a lot of tension, so definitely be careful. The trick is getting it from here in between this pocket and this lower A-arm, and then the spindle bolted in between the ball joints and released without killing yourself. So let's give it a shot. I was able to get this far. We have the spring up in the pocket, still compressed. I had to put the spring compressor in upside down because this part is too long. It was hitting the top. And normally you can run it out through the shock hole up here, but this diameter of this threaded stud is larger than that shock hole. So we should be able to get a wrench up in there and slowly turn that out and release the pressure and then pull that whole thing out. But the problem is with no weight, obviously I'm up off the lift there and we're still not quite far enough to get a nut on that ball joint. So we're going to keep working on it here, and we did actually talk to Inline to see if the brake lines were going to possibly be delivered here today so I can get my motor in for extra weight because of this reason. And they actually informed me that they're still there. They're going to be shipped out today. So I don't know what's going on there. I'll just be happy when I have the correct brake lines and can get all this done, but I'm not very happy about that. So with a little prying and pulling and hammering, actually, we were able to get the bottom ball joint started. So we're going to snug the top and bottom ball joint just to keep this stuff from moving. Then we'll get this jack out of here and then try and release the pressure off that spring. Looks like we were able to do it with some minimum paint scratch, a tiny bit here. Once the rotor's on, you'll never see that, but yeah, it's in there, one side. So this part is tricky for sure. I originally thought I could maybe get a wrench up in there between the coils and spin that out. Turns out I could get like I don't know, 1/8 of a turn, and I couldn't get the wrench flipped back around to get it back on there because of those arms coming off. So I started looking at it, and we ended up going down through the shock hole and hitting the top of the compressor there, getting on that 13/16 hex, and I think we'll be able to relax that, release the tension from that direction. Let's hope so. Alright guys, with the aid of a swivel, you see that's on a bit of an angle. We had to fish all that down through there, connect it, and get on the hex of that compressor. So now we are able to back that off, so let's get this out of here and start on the other side. Once again, that was very tedious. We actually had to take one of the hooks off to get it back out of there, but we got it out of there nonetheless. So let's get on the other side, get the suspension finished up. All right guys, we got this side lined up too. There is a spring pocket up in there. You have to make sure that the spring seats into. If not, it'll be on the wrong side of it and it'll just be all out of whack. So definitely make sure that's seated up in there. And sometimes you just gotta do whatever you gotta do to hold this in place. So I got a bungee on here until I can get this pole jack up under there, and to keep this lower control arm and spring all lined up. So just gotta do what you gotta do, especially when you're working by yourself. One more thing I forgot. You're supposed to line up so the end of the spring kind of points straight back. There's a hole there in the lower control arm. There's two in the back. The end of that spring is supposedly supposed to go in between those two holes. So I don't know how much of a difference it makes, but that's what you're supposed to do. So we have success. We have the whole front suspension back together. We got some rotors on there, repacked our bearings, re-greased them. We have our red powder coated calipers on there, new brake lines or brake hoses. We're still waiting on our brake lines. That's why the motor and trans isn't in. It's sitting over here ready to go in as soon as we get this crossover line. The oil pan comes down right here, and these two bolts or these two threaded holes hold bolts that hold brackets that hold that brake line. So until we get that, we may throw the motor back down in here because it sounds like it's going to be probably a few more days before we get the brake line. So, well, this weekend, and probably not till Wednesday of next week, unfortunately. So anyway, it's looking good. We have our drilled slide rotors on there. This is stock size stuff, but it should be. I've ran these on a bunch of other trucks, and they definitely stop better than the stock ones. So looking good. Upper and lower A-arms. We still have to put our bumpers on, and of course our sway bar. But everything else is on there, bolted down. We're definitely real close to having this a roller. We have the front suspension. We just need to bolt wheels back on, and we did pop the rear differential cover off. We have that draining. We have the new cover, which I sprayed. Looks good. We'll get that bolted on. This does have the G80 gov lock in it. See the mechanism there. Everything seems to be decent inside here, so for right now we're just going to let it be. Just put fresh fluid in. All right, guys, I've gotten some really good feedback on this project. I enjoy everyone's comments. Keep them coming. And if you have any opinions on what I should do to this truck as we're going forward, feel free to let me know. I may just use them. So there's a lot of things that still kind of need to be decided as we go. Some colors and stuff. And we are going to be revealing the paint color of this truck, the body paint color, very, very soon. So stay tuned. Thanks for tuning in and have a good day.